Dad's text hit the night before Christmas Eve, right as I was wrapping the last of the teacher gifts at my kitchen table. "We're canceling your kids' Christmas gifts. Budget issues," he wrote. No emojis, no explanation. I stared at it, then at the little reindeer gift bags in front of me, and typed, "Okay." I didn't argue. I told myself it was fine. We'd still have our own morning, we'd still have cocoa. My kids were used to simple. But the next day at my parents' house, the tree was buried in boxes. Kayla and Ben, my brother Rick's kids, had matching piles with their names sharpied in thick black marker. My two, Maya, 11, and Leo, 8, had stockings hung, but they sagged flat. Mom bustled around with a camera, saying, "Go sit over there by the fireplace." She didn't say to whom, it was obvious. Kayla and Ben sat center stage. Maya folded herself onto the edge of the rug. Leo stood, hands tucked in his hoodie pocket, waiting for instructions that didn't come. Rick passed out gifts like a game show host. "Kayla, open the big one. Ben, wait for me, buddy. There's an order." He laughed. The room laughed with him. The big one was an iPad. The next was an Apple Watch. Then sneakers I'd seen on a billboard, the kind that cost rent money. Paper flew. "From Santa at Grandpa's house," Rick announced. Leo caught my eye and forced a smile. Maya looked at the stockings again, as if something might have materialized since she last checked. Her cheeks were pink. She gave me a tiny shrug. I felt my hand shake. I sat on my fingers so I wouldn't do something dumb like knock over a tower of boxes. "Budget issues," Dad said to me, not quietly, as if to make sure everyone heard. "We had to concentrate on the little ones." Maya blinked. She's not little anymore, but she's still a child. Leo tugged on a bow left behind and made it into a bracelet. Mom's camera pointed everywhere but at him. I waited for someone to say, "Wait, where are Maya and Leo's gifts?" No one did. Chelsea, my sister-in-law, handed my kids a candy cane each and said, "We'll do something small next week, okay?" Like my kids should schedule their joy. I swallowed, slow, 1, 2, 3 times. I took a picture, not of the tablets or the shoes, but of Leo's bent head and the empty space under his stocking. My throat felt tight, like the ribbon I'd just tied around nothing. I didn't explode. I smiled when someone made a joke about Santa needing a raise. Inside, I was counting. Not presents, systems. I'm Sophie. I'm 37. I live in Denver, in a 2-bedroom townhouse that still smells a little like paint because I redid the kids' room myself last month. I'm a sound engineer. It's not glamorous. It's a lot of rolling cables, labeling XLRs, and coaxing feedback out of monitors in bars and small theaters. I work nights, weekends, holidays. I also freelance for a couple venues in the mountains when I can snag the load in. It pays the bills, if I'm careful. I'm divorced. The kids are with me most of the time. I've always been good with money in my family. Translation, I learned budgets the hard way, and I know exactly what's in my checking account at all times. My parents, Dad, retired lineman, and Mom, part-time hairdresser, are the opposite. They're generous and impulsive. My brother Rick makes big plans and assumes someone else will handle the bill. Usually that someone was me. It started simple. After my divorce, I got my own accounts sorted and asked my parents to please stop putting their emergency on my credit card. Instead, I put their electric bill on autopay from my account because we can't keep up with the online password stuff, Sophie. It was $180 a month. Then the water, $60. Then the trash, $28. Then they canceled their Verizon and jumped on my family plan just for a couple months that turned into 2 years. That was $220 a month for 4 lines, mine and theirs. Mom would text me on Fridays. "I'm short for groceries." It started at $100, then $200. For most of this year, I've been sending $300 every week automatically to her account so I didn't have to choose between ignoring her and overdrafting. I have a recurring transfer saved in my app named Mom Grocery. It's the most depressing name in my phone. When Rick's HVAC side hustle exploded, his word, I loaned him $7,500 I'd saved from a run of corporate gigs I did in July. He promised to pay it back by Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving came with a pie and you know how clients are. When he got charged for a COVID deferral he forgot about, I fronted $1,200 so his truck wouldn't get repoed. When my parents' oven died, I paid for a used one off Facebook Marketplace, $400 cash, and lugged it in with a friend. 2 summers ago, we did a family trip to Disneyland. I booked the flights. I booked the Airbnb. I paid the deposit, $3,800, with the understanding that everyone would pay me back in chunks. They didn't. I paid for all the park tickets because it's easier that way, and my dad handed me $200 in cash at the end and said, "We'll settle up." They never did. I told myself it was a gift. That's what family is. The slights started as potholes I drove over and pretended I didn't feel. At Mom's birthday last year, there were framed photos of all the grandkids on a shelf. There were a dozen from Rick's kids at soccer, dance, first lost tooth. There were 2 of mine, both from 5 years ago. When I texted a picture of Maya's honor roll certificate, Mom wrote, "Proud of all my grandkids," then posted photos from Kayla's recital. Cousins Day was always scheduled on Sundays when I had a load-in in Boulder. They took pictures at the zoo and texted them to me after. When I asked, Mom said, "We figured you'd be tired." Last spring, Tyler, my ex, was supposed to take Leo to a Rockies game with my dad and Rick and Ben. At the last minute, Tyler had to work, so I asked if I could bring Leo so he wouldn't miss it. Dad said, "We only have 4 tickets." But they took neighbor Ryan's kid instead because he's right here. Leo watched the whole game on TV at my place with the Rockies cap on his head and kept saying, "Maybe they'll wave at the camera and I'll see them." He was 8. Of course he said that. 3 months ago, Rick asked for $5,000 to get ahead before winter work. I said no. I was kind this time, not apologetic. "I need a cushion," I told him. "I need to stop being the bank." He didn't call me for 2 weeks. When he finally did, everything had a new sharpness to it. Little digs about my artsy job and how I don't understand real life. He joked in front of my parents, "She's rich, but all her money must be in cables." When Dad texted, "We're canceling your kids' Christmas gifts, budget issues," I felt the click. Budget issues have never been a problem when it was me asked to cover brunch, or a plumber, or an oil change. Budget issues in our family were code for, "We're mad you won't save us again." Still, I went, because every year we do stockings at their house, because I believed my kids could swallow one more little thing and we'd be okay, because I thought maybe they'd bought something small, because I keep giving them chances. When I watched Kayla unbox her second device and my kids got candy canes, I understood that the chance I had given them had been turned into a weapon. It wasn't about the iPads. It was the public erasure. It was the empty stockings under the same roof where my direct deposit had paid the lights last week. It was Dad saying little ones, like mine didn't count. We made it through lunch, ham and scalloped potatoes. Rick made a joke about how Santa must have gotten laid off. Dad told a story about when we were kids and we got oranges in our stockings and were happy. "Simple times," he said to my kids, as if they'd been demanding a pony. Maya helped Mom clear plates and got a "thanks, hun" without eye contact. Leo stacked the wrapping paper into a volcano and asked if he could donate it to the recycling bag. "No, just toss it," Chelsea said, pointing to the bin. He flushed and did it. I kept my breath slow. I cut cake no one wanted. I helped Leo tie his shoe when the lace broke. He said, "That's okay. I can double knot the other one." He was trying to make me feel better. That hurt worse than the empty stocking. On the drive home, the sky over 6th Avenue was low and gray. My wipers squeaked. Maya stared out her window with her earbuds in and didn't press play. Leo held the candy cane in his lap like it would break if he breathed on it. "It's not a big deal," Maya said finally, without looking at me. "I know," I said, and my voice came out too even. I didn't want to teach them that meanness was small. I also didn't want to dump my hurt into their laps like hot coals. "We'll do our presents at home in the morning and pancakes," I said. At home, our tree was lopsided and our ornaments were paper and felt. There were 3 gifts under it, wrapped in brown packing paper Maya had decorated with her markers. A secondhand keyboard I got for $60 off a Facebook group from a college kid moving out, a watercolor set, a Lego kit. I put hot chocolate on the stove and stirred it in circles so the milk wouldn't stick. Leo asked if we could have 2 marshmallows each. 3, I said, and he grinned, his first real smile all day. When they went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table, opened my bank app, and stared at my scheduled transfers. There it was. Mom, grocery, $300. Next transfer, $12.29. The schedule said repeats, weekly, Friday. I had started the automation because I was tired of the begging, the storytelling, the guilt. I had told myself it was easier. It was also making me complicit in the way my kids were getting taught they were less. I tapped Edit. It asked Change or Cancel. I pressed Cancel. A window popped up. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring transfer? My thumb hovered. My stomach flipped. I pressed Yes, Cancel. A little green checkmark appeared. Your scheduled transfer has been canceled. I took a screenshot. I didn't text it to anyone. I saved it in a folder on my phone called Boundaries, where until that moment, there had been exactly nothing. I scrolled to the utility autopays. Electric, water, trash, property tax escrow I'd bailed out on when they missed it last year. Lines of my life where I'd decided that helping meant removing all friction from theirs. I didn't touch them. One clean move. No threats, no notes, no explanations. Then I opened my other tab, the one I use when I need to remind myself there is a big world beyond my family. Ski rentals, lift tickets, cheap Airbnbs and snowmass, last-minute deals. I had a little extra from a corporate holiday party I mixed last week. I hadn't promised it to anyone. There was a 2-night cancellation at a small condo in Aspen. It wasn't fancy. The listing had laminate counters and a photo of a couch with a blanket spread to hide the worn spot. There were bunk beds. It was $219 a night, plus cleaning, total $548. The ski school for kids had 2 cancellations, $125 each for half-day. Rentals were $40 per kid per day. Gas, snacks, cocoa. It would be tight, but possible. I booked it. I didn't tell the kids yet. I hung their stockings on our TV stand, slipped in 2 beanies I'd gotten on clearance, and put their candy canes beside them like we planned it this way. I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the iPads and Leo's empty stocking and my own thumb pressing yes, cancel. My hands felt steadier. Morning was pancakes and paper chaos, and the keyboard's first tentative notes through the little built-in speaker. Leo did Jingle Bells badly. Maya played a few chords and then set up the watercolor set, tapping the brush to get it just wet enough. They were fine. They were always fine. I was the one with the shakes. When I told them about the trip, Maya's eyes widened like she was 5 again. Seriously? Leo did a lap around the room. Do we need to get snow pants? He asked, practical like me. We dug through the hall closet and found the hand-me-down ones I'd bought last year and hoped would fit again. They did. We left after lunch with the leftover hot cocoa and to-go mugs and a bag of clementines. The highway to the mountains was dry and bright, the opposite of yesterday's gray. Leo counted semis. Maya took pictures out the window of the light hitting the snow. I didn't post anything. Not yet. I wasn't going to make this about them. I was going to make it about my kids. Aspen was good in the way that simple can be good. The condo was small and creaky. The kids' bunk bed had a wobbly ladder. The baseboards needed paint. Nobody cared. We ate noodles out of mugs and watched a movie on my laptop, all 3 of us under the blanket that hid the couch's worn spot. In the morning, we layered up and shuffled into rental boots. Leo looked like a marshmallow. Maya looked like she'd stepped into another life she never thought would fit her. Ski school was half chaos, half magic. I watched from the lodge with a coffee that cost too much and let myself not think. Leo waved at me every time he came down the baby slope. Maya pretended she didn't see me, then quietly waved when she thought no one else would. I took a video. For once, it was just for us. That night, I posted a few photos. The kids grinning, pink-cheeked in beanies, holding their lift tickets like badges. A plate of the world's most expensive fries. The view from the top, where you can see the trees like someone dusted sugar on them. I wrote a quiet caption, "First time in Aspen. Proud of my little skiers." An hour later, my phone buzzed. Kayla, my niece, commented, "OMG, so cool. Why didn't you invite us?" I typed, erased, typed again. Then I wrote, "Budget issues." I added a snowflake emoji because I'm weak, but I left it there. It didn't take long. My mother called. I let it ring twice, then answered. "How could you?" she said. No hello. "How could I take my kids skiing?" I said, level. "How could you say that to Kayla?" she snapped. "She's a child." "So are Maya and Leo," I said. "I'm done funding a family my kids aren't part of." "Oh, stop it. You're being dramatic. You know we love them." "I saw what I saw." "Your father already explained," she said, and I could hear Dad in the background saying something about tight year and everyone's cutting back. "Everyone?" I asked. "Did the budget issues apply to the iPads and the watches?" Silence, then Mom's sigh. "We see Rick's kids more. It's just different. Your schedule is—" "My schedule paid your electric last week," I said. I kept my voice steady. "Mom, the weekly transfers are done. Please remove my card from any account you still have it on. I'm not your backup bank anymore." "You did what?" barked Dad from somewhere behind the phone. "Are you punishing your mother?" "I'm protecting my kids," I said. "We won't keep showing up to be erased." "Who put you up to this?" Mom asked. "Is this Tyler, your therapist?" "No one put me up to anything. I watched my kids be left out under my own money lights. I made a decision." "So you're going to let us starve?" Mom's voice went thin, the way it goes when she tries to make me 10 again. "You're not going to starve," I said. "You'll do what adults do. Cut back. Ask the person whose kids got the iPads to help, since he seems to be flush." "You're trying to start a fight," said Dad. "This is underhanded." "I clicked a button," I said. Underhanded was telling me budget issues and then giving a show of gifts in front of my kids. "He's your brother," Mom said. "You two need to make up." "He can call me when he's ready to apologize," I said. "For now, the transfer is canceled. That's all." After I hung up, my phone started blooming with texts. Rick, "Nice Aspen flex, way to use the kids." Chelsea, "If you had an issue, you could have talked to us. You don't have to be petty." Dad, "Come over, we'll sort this out. Bring the bank info." Mom, "You've broken my heart." I didn't answer any of them. I took the kids to the condo's tiny hot tub and watched Leo learn the art of turning into a tomato and then jumping into the snow. Maya floated with her ears under and looked at the sky like she could hear a different planet. On the side, 2 old women chatted about a neighbor's dog. It was the most normal I'd felt in months. When we got home, the fallout kicked in properly. There were 3 voicemails from Dad that all started in a warm voice and ended clipped. Mom left one crying. Rick sent me a screenshot of a Venmo request he sent to our cousin for $50 with lunch, ? And a note, "Look, I'm asking other people. Happy?" I didn't reply. Chelsea came to my door with a casserole and a speech. "Can we not make this weird for the kids? Kayla's in tears." I let her talk. When she took a breath, I said, "I'm not making anything weird. I'm not going to fund a system that leaves my kids out. When they're treated like grandchildren, I'm happy to participate. Until then, I'm paying for my home." "You think we're bad people," she said. "I think you made a bad choice," I said. "I made a different one." She asked if she could at least leave the casserole. I took it. It was heavy. I said thank you because it was food and because we aren't enemies, we're just not allies anymore. The texts kept coming for a few days and then slowed. I set a simple response in my notes app so I didn't have to argue every time. It said, "I'm not your backup bank. I won't fund a family my kids aren't part of." I copied and pasted it when needed. If someone asked for details, I said, "The transfer is canceled. That's all." A bright thread among the gray of my cousin Tasha, who's always been the quiet one at gatherings, texted, "I saw your post. I've seen a lot of little things over the years. Remember when they took Ben to Monster Jam instead of Leo? You're doing the right thing. We're around if you need a different family to come to movie night." My friend Jen from the venue sent me a screenshot of their open call board for New Year's week. Want a shift? Pays well. I took two. It felt good to say yes to something that paid me money and didn't make me feel like I was paying in pieces of myself. January was quieter, like someone turned down the room tone. The family group chat went mostly silent. When Dad texted, "Can you come over Sunday?" I said, "We're busy," and then didn't explain what. Making soup, homework, a puzzle we'd started and would finish. I checked my bank app and scrolled to my scheduled transfers. There was a satisfying blank space where Mom Grocery $300 weekly used to be. No scheduled transfers, the little message said. I took another screenshot and put it in my Boundaries folder. I looked at the utility autopays and pulled my hand back like they were hot. One decision at a time. When February came, Tasha invited us to her place for late Christmas with her husband and their two kids. We brought sugar cookies. She had a tree still up, a small one with paper stars. There were a couple gifts for my kids, a puzzle and a book, and no speeches. The kids piled onto the floor and built the puzzle together. No one said little ones. No one said budget issues. When Leo's shoelace broke again, Tasha handed him a new lace from a drawer because she's a mom and she has a drawer for everything. By spring, Mom tried again. "We miss you," she texted. "We'll make it right next year." I said, "We'll see," and meant it. A month later, I got a group text from Dad with a link to a GoFundMe for New Roof Fund. I scrolled past. I sent him a website for a contractor who does payment plans instead. In December, when the air turned sharp, the kids asked if we were going to our mountains again. I said yes, if we can make it work. I picked up extra shifts. I sold a guitar pedal I wasn't using. We didn't invite anyone. We didn't post from the top this time. We posted a picture of the hot cocoa in our mugs with marshmallows melting into little clouds. Kayla liked it. She didn't comment. Sometimes things pass through you and leave just a shape. On Christmas Day, we stayed home. I set the table with the mismatched mugs and the felt runner Maya made in art class. 2 folding chairs sat empty at the end because I couldn't bring myself to cram them in the closet yet. I thought about inviting my parents again and deciding if they didn't bring the tones, they could come. I didn't. Not this year. Not for my first year of calm. We ate pancakes and then eggs when we wanted something salty. We FaceTimed Tyler and his parents. They made faces at the kids and said they were proud of their turns on the little hills. Maya opened a small metronome I found for her keyboard. Leo opened a secondhand science kit. He made a volcano on a cookie sheet and didn't ask anyone if it was okay. Later, the doorbell rang. It was Tasha and her kids, in beanies, cheeks pink. They'd been sledding at the park and had stopped by with an extra pie. "Apple," Tasha said. "My oven went rogue, but it tastes fine." The kids thudded inside, snow on their boots, excited to see each other. Maya showed them her watercolor. Leo showed them the keyboard and played the 3 chords he knows like they're a concert. Everyone clapped. It wasn't a show, it was a home. I checked my phone one more time. One text from Mom, sent at 8 a.m. "Merry Christmas." I replied, "Merry Christmas." That was it. No accusations, no budget talk. I walked back to the table. I cut the pie. The chairs were still empty. We didn't talk about who wasn't there. We talked about sledding and the best hot cocoa ratios and a silly dog at the park who tried to chase a sled down the hill and slid into a bush. When the house was quiet that night and I was doing that last sweep of cups and socks, I opened my Boundaries folder on my phone. 2 screenshots. Yes, cancel. No scheduled transfers. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt like someone who found the light switch in a room she thought she had to sit in the dark forever.